Hello and welcome to Mothman's Bookshop. My name is Nicole, and today I'd like to tell you about A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Warning, I'll try and make this as spoiler-free as possible, but given it's a book review, there are bound to be a couple spoilers. I want to make something very clear. This book did what Truly Devious didn't and frankly couldn't. I don't mean that Maureen Johnson is a bad writer, I just mean that the way the book was going, I don't think there was any way to save it. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is the ultimate teen murder mystery. It's absolutely gripping, the way characters act is true to their age, other than the murder, and the suspense is through the roof the whole time. The book starts out fast and stays that way the entire time, and I loved it. Before I start, here is a trigger warning for mentions of murder, sexual assault, suicide, and mentions of drug dealing and use. Before reading the book, please check out all of the warnings. These are just a couple that I might be mentioning. And with that, let's get into it. 5 years ago, in the small town of Fairview, Connecticut, a young girl named Andrea, or Andy Bell, was murdered by her boyfriend Salil Singh, who then killed himself. For 5 years, Salil has been demonized and blamed for her murder, not allowing his family to grieve without seeming like monsters. But all isn't how it seems in Fairview, and Pippa Amobi Fitz knows that, so for her senior capstone project, she decides to solve a murder. She's dead set on proving Salil's innocence by any means necessary, even if it means getting her hands a bit dirty. She works alongside Ravi, Salil's younger brother, who actually tried proving his brother's innocence earlier, but was stopped without ever getting anywhere. Him and Pippa interview anyone and everyone connected to the case, finding secrets and crimes that have stayed hidden until now. Everything she finds makes Salil less and less guilty, but has the opposite effect on the perfect popular girl, Andy. However, as Pip digs deeper, someone starts getting nervous, and Pip starts receiving threatening notes and text, which get more and more violent and appear more and more often as she gets closer to the truth. The list of suspects keeps growing, and the theories keep appearing. Now, Pip is in a race to the end against the murderer, to prove a guilty man innocent and to keep her own life. And with that, let's get into it. I barely forced myself to put this book down and go to sleep. It grabs you by the collar and makes it impossible to stop reading without your mind racing with theories about who could have done it. I would usually pick up the book in the evening or right before bed, and every time I put the book down, I would end up spending the rest of the day thinking about what I just read. The writing is amazing, and this is especially shown in the pacing of the book. Holly Jackson knows exactly where to insert a joke to break up tension, and exactly where to tug at your heartstrings. Fair warning, I will be comparing this book to Truly Devious pretty often, so if you haven't yet, I suggest listening to that episode for some context. For some context now, Truly Devious also deals with an old, unsolved, or falsely solved murder, and a new student in school which has one goal, which is to solve that murder. Except in that book, most things are done really badly, so much so that I refuse to read any of the other books in the series. Back to this review. The pacing in Truly Devious wasn't great. You'd be reading a heavy moment with lots of negative emotions and situations, and all of a sudden Stevie would be talking about how much a classmate annoys her. Here, impeccable pacing. Jackson perfectly inserted humor into heavy moments, and it all felt so natural. For example, when Pippa and Ravi were getting ready to interview a potential murderer, Ravi made a little joke to alleviate tension, and it was a quick little moment that didn't include half a page of joke analysis. I think Jackson also did a great job of building and maintaining tension, especially in some of the longer scenes. Professionally or not, this is difficult to do, and not many can do it so well. Tying into this, I love the formatting of the book. The whole thing is written in third person, but we still get to see Pippa's inner thoughts. And we also get to look directly into her capstone project and the reports and interviews she does. This adds a whole new level to the mystery and reinforces the idea of the whole book being a school project. Another thing I thought was cool was the addition of an Indian character who wasn't just a side character or in the background. Salil and his family are of Indian descent, and his brother Ravi plays an important part in helping Pippa solve the mystery. At this point, you may be wondering, Nicole, is there anything you didn't like about it? No. I loved every second of this book and will continue talking about what it was exactly that I loved so much. Anyway, before starting these scripts, I usually read other reviews as sort of research to see if there are any points I agree with, and also they inspire me a bit. I saw one that called the book too cliché and overdone. Honestly, I can't say that they're wrong. The book has a lot of clichés and tropes, but they aren't just recycled. What saves this issue is the fact that the tropes are done quite differently than if you were to compare this to a similar book. It takes the popular girl trope, and while she still has her dark secrets, she also has a complicated family. Most other quote-unquote dead popular girl books just have her bully classmates while having an emotionally distant parent. Good Girl's Guide also gives Andy a broken family with a manipulative and verbally abusive father and an emotionally unavailable mother. While these factors don't excuse Andy's behavior, they give her more character and reason behind these behaviors. Overall, I think it was a very interesting way to twist the tropes and make them, well, not boring. Finally, the romance. As some of you may know, I have very strong feelings about the romance in Truly Devious. It was just not good. Here, it is such a small part of the story that you barely notice it's happening. And do you know why, dear listeners? Because the investigator's love life doesn't matter in a murder case. I want to know who killed Andy and framed Salil, not who Pip dated in middle school, and Miss Jackson delivers on that. There are a couple of romantic moments throughout the book between Ravi and Pippa, and they're integrated well, and you feel involved because you know why they like each other, and you see it happen as it happens. The cute moments in the end actually belongs there, and it's really wholesome. This is what I want in a murder mystery with a romance aspect. Final thoughts? This is the ultimate teen murder mystery, like I said before. It has murder, it has secrets, it's well written, unlike others. I highly recommend it for the teen mystery aficionados. Most platforms would rate it around a 4.7 out of 5. I give it a 4.5 out of 5 because of the sheer amount of cliches. Our first question this week comes from Foggy D, and he asks, do you think it'll stand the test of time so much that you'll revisit it again someday in the distant future, and could it be appreciated by an older reader as well? If I were to reread it as an adult, I think I would still love it because the writing is so good, but if an adult were to read it for the first time, I think the teen cliches would annoy them a bit. Our other question this week comes from my friend Alex, who asks, what scene gives you the most feels? I can't say specifically what happens because it's the scene where we find out who the killer is, but that scene makes me the most emotional. It's a really important scene that the whole book has been working towards. My heart was racing the entire time because Pip was waiting on the police while trying to get the whole story out of the killer, and it is all so good. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Mothman's Bookshop. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have something very special planned next week, so keep an eye out for that. If you did enjoy this and would like to know when the next episode comes out, do yourself a favor and follow the podcast, and if you have any questions or recommendations, feel free to use the form in the description or join the Discord. Once again, my name is Nicole, and I'll see you next week here in Mothman's Bookshop.